Don't talk. Those two words froze the entire steakhouse. Forks stopped clinking. Conversations halted. The smell of sizzling meat hung heavy in the air. A man in his late 30s, wearing a worn leather jacket and a faded cap, had just leaned over to whisper those words, not to a friend, but to the chief of police himself. And within seconds, that simple warning would change everything. If you're watching this, stay with me till the end, because this isn't just about courage. It's about trust, sacrifice, and the power of a father's love. And if it moves your heart even a little, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because stories like this deserve to be told. It was a quiet Friday night at Benson's Steakhouse, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone. Families gathered around booths, couples toasted over candlelight, and in the corner, a tired single dad named Luke sat with his 10-year-old daughter, Emily. Luke wasn't the type to draw attention. He'd served his country, lost friends overseas, and now lived a simple life fixing cars and raising his little girl. To most people, he was just another face in the crowd. But tonight, fate had other plans. At another table near the front, Police Chief Martin, a respected man, known for his integrity, was hosting a small dinner for his retirement. He'd given 30 years to the badge, and tonight was supposed to be peaceful, a celebration of a job well done. The waiters smiled, glasses clinked, and laughter filled the air. Luke glanced around the room, his instincts sharp as ever. Soldiers never really stop scanning their surroundings, it becomes part of who they are. His eyes locked on a man sitting alone at the bar, nervous hands, tapping knee, eyes darting toward the chief every few seconds. Something was off, the kind of off that made Luke's stomach twist. Emily tugged his sleeve. "Dad, are you okay?" He smiled faintly. "Yeah, sweetheart. Just give me a second." Luke's gaze followed the stranger as he reached into his coat. The movement was subtle, too deliberate to be casual. Years of training kicked in. In a single heartbeat, Luke stood, crossed the room quietly, and approached the chief's table. "Don't talk," he whispered firmly, placing a hand on the chief's shoulder. Chief Martin froze. Luke's eyes locked with his, calm, serious, unwavering. The chief didn't know this man, but there was something about that voice, that tone, the voice of someone who had seen danger before. Luke stepped between the chief and the bar, his posture low, controlled. The stranger had pulled out something, not a wallet, not a phone. Luke recognized the shape instantly. He moved fast. The veteran lunged, knocking over a chair as he grabbed the man's wrist. The gun fired once, sending people screaming, diving under tables. Luke twisted, slammed the man against the counter, and with one swift motion, disarmed him. The chief, though startled, drew his own weapon, covering the suspect while Luke pinned him down. The room erupted into chaos, mothers clutching children, waiters crying, sirens blaring from the street outside. When it was over, the gunman lay cuffed, trembling, muttering under his breath. The chief stared, still catching his breath, eyes full of gratitude and shock. "Who are you?" he finally asked. Luke brushed the dust off his jacket, motioning for Emily, who had hidden behind a table, to come out. "Just someone who's seen too much not to notice," he said softly, pulling her close. Later, when the scene cleared and reporters swarmed the parking lot, Chief Martin found Luke sitting on the tailgate of his old truck, wrapping a small scrape on his arm. "You saved my life in there," the chief said quietly. Luke shook his head. "You don't need to thank me. I just did what anyone would do." "Not everyone would," the chief replied. He glanced at Emily, who was holding a melted chocolate sundae. "You've got a brave dad, young lady." She smiled proudly. "He says he used to be a hero. I think he still is." The chief smiled, then grew serious. "We ran the guy's background. He was a disgraced ex-officer, fired last year after I exposed his corruption. He was here for revenge. If you hadn't said those words, 'Don't talk,' I'd never have made it out alive." Luke sighed. "Sometimes you don't need to shout to save someone. You just have to act." The chief nodded, then reached into his pocket. "You ever think about coming back? We could use a man like you. We always talk about heroes, but heroes like you walk among us quietly." Luke looked at Emily. She was leaning against his shoulder, half asleep. "I already have a mission," he said softly. "She's right here." The chief smiled. "That's the kind of man this world needs." As Luke lifted his daughter into the truck, the chief called after him. "If you ever need anything, Luke, anything, my door's open." That night, as they drove home, Emily spoke from the passenger seat, voice sleepy but sincere. "Dad, you're really good at helping people. You think you'll ever stop?" Luke chuckled, glancing at her reflection in the mirror. "No, sweetheart. When you've seen darkness, you spend the rest of your life being someone's light." She smiled, closing her eyes. And as the truck disappeared down the quiet road, headlights fading into the night, one thing was certain: true heroes don't need medals or headlines. Sometimes, they just need the courage to say two simple words at the right moment,